You're listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio After Dark with our host, Gary Anderson.
That is me. Well, here tonight, we're going to be with our guest at the top of the hour. We're going to be talking about the moon and all the strange things that, well, might not be, normal on the moon that maybe have been created by e.t.s and stuff like that. What do you think about that, James?
You know what? I've heard these theories for a long time, and I've seen some footage that shows all kind of peculiar things on the moon. They call them, white pigeons, and there's other things showing smokestacks and all kind of stuff. So, yeah, I've got a few questions about that, especially on the dark side of the moon. They're saying there's all kind of aliens there, and some of the astronauts said, hey, they're looking at us and all kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah. And, like buildings and structures and all that stuff on the moon, it makes me wonder, on the backside of the moon, we can't see it. I mean, let's face it, maybe there is alien bases. That's maybe one of the reasons why we never went back to the moon. Maybe we were told not to go back, and I use the big word or, something could happen.
Yeah, and that's one of the one of the theories that I've heard throughout the years, one of the reasons why we just gave up and never went back no more. But it just seems weird, we go from turn of the century riding a horse to 60, 70 years later to the moon, and then 50 years later we haven't did nothing. It just seems strange.
Yeah, we've always been lately talking about going to Mars, the government and actually private firms that want to send people to Mars. Why would you want to go to Mars? Why wouldn't they send somebody to survive on the moon for a while to see what would happen if somebody lived on the moon for a year? And see if they can survive, both physically and emotionally. Because you know what? When we send people out in space and they go onto the space station, when they come back, they can barely walk. Their brain has actually shrunk. And they don't even know, scientists don't even know if their brain will go back to the normal size, but it actually has shrunk a little bit. And people get shorter when they're in space because, the gravity isn't there. It's all the weird stuff. Tells me that maybe we're not made to be out in space, that we have to come up with some type of, devices to create gravity, to create whatever to simulate Earth. But I would think before we ever went to Mars, we would go and put a station on the moon and let people live on it, just like we do with the space station. I find it very strange we don't do that, but they keep, talking about going to Mars. But again, they even keep pushing that back. They talked about going back to the moon, but they pushed that back now. I think there's other reasons. I don't know.
Yeah, there's something going on there for sure. And you're right. We're not meant to be in space for any length of time. And you're talking a 5.5 year round trip, roughly, give or take a few months. So that's a long time to go somewhere. And like that news report I reported on last night, the water situation, you can only recycle your recyclable, so to speak, so many times. You really need water, and there's a lack of water, and they're not able to bring enough water. That's weight. That's 8 pounds a gallon. That's a lot of weight on top of the fuel for our technology that we know of. Now that maybe we have technology they got hidden away they don't want to bring out. I don't know, but yeah, as far as the moon goes, there's something going on there. Why wouldn't we go back? You're right.
Well, yeah, and that, again, we talk about going to Mars. Now, have people like Penny, Bradley, and some of these other people claimed and do claim that they were in the secret Space Force, that they were on Mars. They also were on, battle craft and all this stuff. I mean, maybe we already have and have had a Space Force, a secret Space Force for many years. And maybe we do have a base on Mars. I have no idea. But there's a group of people out there that claim that they, were, and that when they retired from the Space Force, they were somehow transferred back into a normal person. I don't know. I'm still a little confused on that one.
Yeah, well, I guess, like the guy was talking about last night or the night before, rather, where the Scottish guy hacked into the system there and found out about that mission to Mars, secret missions that we've been doing. Well, the one guy, I can't think of his name, I wouldn't say it anyway, but he claims that when he was 17, they took him, and he was gone for almost 20 years, but when they brought him back, he was back at 17. He'd only been gone a day on Earth, but he'd been gone 20 years on the Mars and fighting all this stuff like you're talking about.
Yeah, there's a attorney up here in Longview, Washington. It also claims that he, was up on Mars on the secret space, force, along with our former president, Obama, and all that stuff, which I find interesting. But the only thing is, when they come back, some of these people have adult children. So that's the only part. How, if you were taken, right, as a child and then brainwashed, conditioned, then put into a space force, okay, and you served 20, 30 years, and then they bring you back, how could you have adult children? That's the part I don't understand yet.
Well, I think like that one guy, when they brought him back, he was back to 17. And he went on to live his life, and then he had children once he got married and stuff. But the thing is, if they're supposed to, it's secret, and they're scrubbing your brain, there sure is a lot of people coming forward that remember it and talking about it.
Yeah, a lot of people. And a lot of people are claiming they were in the secret space force. And maybe that's true. I have no idea because, everything is getting so, how can I say it, confusing. It's not just now about seeing UFOs or seeing orbs. It's all the stuff that's going behind it. It seems to be so much more than that was a few years ago.
Yeah, I was just looking on the national reporting site that I check into. I think it's September, October, and November, those 3 months, and we, without looking it up, we were talking about how it seemed like it was a lot of sightings. Well, those 3 months had way more reports than the rest of the year.
Absolutely right. And is it because people are now, we created a space force, because of the Nimitz film, video circulating all through the internet and on the news and everywhere, are people now more observant and looking now for UFOs, which never bothered probably to go outside and never turn their head up and look in the stars?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of factors here. Number one, I think the UFOs, aliens are coming here more often. Number one. Number two, where there's a lot more population now. And number three, almost everybody at 24/7 has some kind of recording device on them at all times. So I think you figure all those things in, and I think that justifies the spikes in all the sightings and reports.
Oh, yeah. That's the part that's interesting. And it seems like the reports of these sightings are so much more enhanced and in more detail. Again, I think it's because people are now starting to, pay attention more.
Yeah. And, shows like our show, we bring it more to people's attention with the guests we have on. I mean, look at some of the guests we've had on: Whitley, Terry Lovelace, Calvin Parker, just to name a few, that has many experiences over many years.
Yeah. Oh, one of the people on chat, Marjorie Phillips. Hi, Marjorie. I just want to say, when you first come on, you're going to hear, a commercial, or actually two of them, like 1 minute's worth. And then you're going to hear about 4 minutes worth of music. And what I do is I do that because for people tuning in to the show off the website or other places, so they can get, settled in and get ready to listen to the show. And also, if you're listening on one of the radio stations, you're not going to hear that music. That it's only on the internet to let people know that hey, they tuned into the right show. We are live. And, so you're going to get that, Marjorie. You're going to get a total of about 1 minute commercial and about 3 minutes of music. And unfortunately, some people like it, some people don't. Hey, we try to give good music. So anyway, I just wanted to clear that up.
Yeah, I see Margie. Margie Phelps. She's on there. She's a sweet lady.
Oh, yeah. She's been on the show, I think, twice.
Yeah, I think, yep. I believe you're correct on that one.
But, when you think about the moon, okay, it's just like, I do think on the dark side of the moon, it's something is going on that the governments on this planet, that have sent up, satellites or, craft with humans on it, circle, around the moon and stuff. It's funny that they don't release much of any photos of the backside of the moon. And some of the pictures it does, you can find, like through NASA's website and stuff like that, if you really look at it, it does look like there's some structures on the backside of the moon. The one I don't buy is a smokestack, because you don't have any atmosphere on the moon. You don't have any wind. You don't have any oxygen. You don't have any of that stuff. So if you were in a building and had oxygen in that building to create smoke, that smoke would not dissipate. It would just be a big cloud around. You wouldn't even see the smokestack.
Yeah, it's weird. I've seen some looks like bridges on there and buildings and look like a satellite dish and all kind of craziness.
Yeah, probably a lot of military installations, maybe ours and theirs on the backside of the moon. Maybe that's where the Space Force has their, that they're set up, is on the backside of the moon.
Yeah, and I can't remember which astronaut. It might have been, I don't want